Welcome to TSP Weekly. This is your tech startup podcast for Thursday, September 24th, 2015. Today we are once again recording in the Trogdor room at the Velocity Garage, our home away from home, it feels like sometimes. Great to be here. Let's do some introductions. My name is Darren Conley. I'm a local tech entrepreneur here in Kitchener-Waterloo. Stephen Campbell is my very affirming co-host.
That's correct.
Good to have you with us, Steve, again.
I believe you're right on all accounts so far.
Perfect.
I have a camera on my head today, so I'm feeling very awkward.
That. Yeah. At some point, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen any camera footage yet, at some point you will see some posted online.
Yeah, we got a GoPro, and we're just playing with it at this point. So trying to figure out what's the best way to utilize it. That's
right. And Steven's going to try his best not to nod very much while he talks. As he shakes his head. All right. So hopefully the footage will turn out well. Steven's even kept his head nicely free of hair for the strapping on of a GoPro.
If you'd like to put a cup of tea on it, you can probably balance it throughout the podcast.
I'll skip it for now. But anyway, let's introduce our guests. We are joined by two wonderful, talented, lovely women both of whom I think have not necessarily been on the podcast, but have been very close to the podcast for a little while.
Big supporters, and we appreciate that.
That's right. So joining us over here, we have Samantha Lowe. She is the marketing, what's your official term? Marketing guru?
Communication growth engineer at
BitHound. There you go. Communication growth engineer at BitHound.
No ring, though.
No, it's cool. It's a nice fancy title.
That's like a marketing engineer. That's awesome.
Something like that, sure.
I like the engineer in the title.
Me too. It's like doctors without diplomas.
That's right.
Sam,
or orders.
We need to come up with a ring.
We do.
I think you sat in on our podcast, right, when we were recording with BitHound.
Yeah, with Dan and
many
Gord.
months ago. Yeah, that's right.
Hey, Dan. Hey, Gord.
Yeah, hopefully they're listening.
I was just shooting my BitHound laser gun the other day.
I call it that too.
Your BitHound laser gun?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Wait a minute. I think I missed something there.
No, I'm being stupid.
We had some swag, and it was a laser gun and some M&Ms with BitHound logo on them.
I like the M&Ms.
Some stickers and a T-shirt. Yeah, so
yeah, it's great.
That was awesome.
But let's also introduce Victoria Berry. So Victoria has been the long time marketing and PR.
That's person? Right. Yeah, marketing comms for Velocity.
Velocity, who many of our past guests have been Velocity startups, and we are here at Velocity making use of their space again, which is great. And you are transitioning to newer opportunities.
Yes, yeah. So I have been running my freelance PR and marketing business on the side, and I'm transitioning to that full time after a year at Velocity. And we have a new marketing communications lead who's already joined, actually, Jude Fiorello. And Jude is formerly did marketing for Sortable, which is a company that's now based out of Velocity,
sure.
and also spent a lot of time over the last year teaching himself to code. Yeah,
interesting.
What kind of language is he coding in?
I have no idea.
Is he going to be doing?
I want to say definitely
stuff?
Some Python, but I'm not sure what else.
Will he be doing coding stuff in his role at Velocity?
I don't know. I think you never know, right?
Yeah.
So I know I didn't.
Well, it never hurts to know, right? Like if something comes up and you need to write some code, then there you go, right? Yeah, that's perfect.
We're talking with the guys at Sortable about coming on the podcast in a week or two. So
that's
perfect.
True.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, see what Chris's story is.
Right. Apparently, it's a good story.
Yeah.
But for today, we're going to talk a little bit about once again about marketing and PR stuff in general for startups. And we've talked a bit about BitHound in the past already, and we've talked about many Velocity startups. But
one of the things that we've found talking to so many startups is a lot of intelligent people, a lot of really cool ideas, and a lot of them hit the wall because after they talk to their moms and dads and friends and followers, getting traction is a big challenge.
Right.
I see that often.
Right.
So let's help them.
Yeah, I want to learn from myself, actually, a lot more, because even for our podcast, we'd love to market it better. So
sure.
Hopefully we can get some good advice here today.
I think we need stickers.
We need stickers.
Stickers always help in this particular ecosystem.
Apparently. No, it's awesome. So let's maybe talk about, I don't know, the early days of...
stickers.
Oh, there's Steve showing off his stickers. The early days of of your guys' experience in getting involved in the tech startup marketing scene here. I don't know who we should start with first, maybe Samantha. So BitHound, you've been with them for how long now?
Coming up on a year in November.
Okay, almost a year. And were you involved in the tech scene before that as well?
Yes, I was. So actually, Vic was my first boss in the PR realm, actually sitting beside me. So
wow, amazing.
So we spent some time together in the developer PR marketing realm at BlackBerry.
Yes.
And so working very closely with a lot of startups in town and working closely with a lot of startups all over kind of the country and stuff like that. So getting people to adopt the platform, which ultimately started to really get me interested in the developer space and startup space. And so when I made the decision to try something different outside of BlackBerry, I knew I wanted to be sort of in the tech side, helping out with the PR marketing front.
Sure. And did you go straight from BlackBerry to BitHound? Or?
I had one gig in the ad world
okay.
with BlackBerry as well, BBM channel ads. So that was a really great learning experience too. And all those CPC, CPA, all these acronym models have come into use. Also in the sort of the advertising world of startups. Yeah.
Wow.
What was your education? Did you come through the local university system?
I'm actually from Burlington, Ontario originally. Went to school at McMaster University for commerce. Yeah.
I was there for a little while. I'm McMaster. Not in commerce though, linguistics for me. But yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
I grew up in the secret handshake then.
Yeah.
We're doing it right now.
Ever was one, yeah, that's right.
Good cover up, Darren.
It's telekinetic secret handshake.
Just got it, yeah.
And let's just talk to Victoria a little bit. So we've heard from Samantha that apparently you were you were the boss of some folks over at BlackBerry for a while. How long have you kind of been in the tech scene with the PR and marketing world?
Well, I got my start in journalism, doing like community news, and then went from that into tech media at Computer World Canada for a few years, and then flipped that into some marketing writing, contract work, and then joined BlackBerry at the time, RIM, doing PR for the enterprise, like their enterprise servers and different things like that. And then over the years was able to try my hand in a lot of different, different types of comms for different products and different groups within the organization. And then was able to head up the developer ecosystem, communications, PR, social group. And we had a great team, probably the best times that we had there. I'm just going to speak for Sam. The best times that Sam had there.
The best of times and the worst of times.
No, we had a great team. We had a really good time together. And then, when I left BlackBerry, started my own thing, doing some marketing, and basically took a summer off to hang out with my kids, and then came on board at Velocity.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an amazing
And now it's
journey.
Onward and upward.
We've heard.
Fingers crossed.
We've heard from many people kind of in the startup world and in the tech world too. A lot of people having these experiences of working at a large company with a group or a team together, forming these kind of strong bonds, and then when you move out from that space, kind of maintaining those ties, even though you might be working in different places. And I think just from being around town, I know that there was a cluster of you guys that were all kind of together at BlackBerry who have now moved on to other things, but still seem to get together for drinks regularly and keep up with what's going on, right?
For sure.
Is that accurate to say?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I see the class of '98 T-shirts all over the place.
Fair enough. So I would guess that working at a very, very big company like BlackBerry /RIM is a much different experience from working in the startup world where you guys have been for the last little while. Could you maybe share a little bit of some of the contrasts, but maybe give us a picture of what it's like to work at the big company first, doing marketing and PR, and then how that's different from what you've been doing lately?
Oh my goodness.
Whoever wants to go first.
Well, I'll start, Darren.
Well, I think that obviously when you work for a really large company, and BlackBerry, at its peak was an incredibly large company, global offices, global resources, amazing. Actually, I think even now people probably don't realize how lucky we were in terms of the resources that we had available to us within the groups. You had people who were experts in web. You had people doing reporting and able to, drill numbers and get you data. You had video on, you had videographers on staff who you could go to and do things with. You had.
Did they wear cameras on their heads though? Like, were they that committed?
They were not quite as committed as you.
Thank you.
We can't say that about many
No,
people.
they, and we were able to, we traveled the world a little bit. I think that we were really lucky. We had a great team. I think the thing with working in the startup realm is my advice for people going from a larger corporation into this, because it's sexy and attractive to be part of the startup, movement, is want to be there. You really have to want to be part of it and want to be doing it. It can't just be your job. It takes more than that to do it really well.
Sure. I want to shake my head right now, but I'm really just trying not to for the camera.
like I disagree, or I see. Okay. You meant, no, you're all wrong. You're totally wrong.
We appreciate your commitment to good camera work, Stephen. That's excellent.
Thank you for the steady head.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't know, Sam, if there's anything that you found in terms
I think that when you're working for a really large corporation, there's a lot of safeguards in place. So you're not making calls necessarily on your own. You're coming forth with your recommendation, but essentially it's going to go up the ladder and get the yay or nay, or may never even make it up the ladder. With startups, it's a lot of, Sam or Vic or whoever, make the call. What's the call going to be? You got to make it, and you got to make it now.
Right.
So it's, kind of taking ownership of that. There's no one to point fingers at, point blame at. It's all on you.
Right.
And the other thing that's that can be needed in a big corporation is there's a lot of, people are always really concerned about moving up the ranks. For me, I kind of moved, horizontally. So I became a little bit of a generalist. I spent time in, cause marketing and community relations at BlackBerry, and then I spent some time in PR doing some of the dev and app stuff. Then I moved into more of the sales and ad functions. So if you are, fortunate enough to be able to move that way, you can it can really bring a skill set to a startup they can need, because now you've got somebody who can do, this and that. And I just wish I spent some time in development. It would have made things even better. But Do you ever get sort of too shotgunny in that you come from a team where you have a specific role and some specific measurements of your success, I would assume, and some specific things that you have to do, and then you go to a startup where you're the boss and it's like, oh my God, there's so many things to do. Where do I start? How do I focus? How do I, where do I start first? Is that a challenge, or is that more of a thing that you really enjoy? Like, now I can do
whatever I want.
Yeah, the Mercury can flow whichever direction I lean it in now.
It's a good question. There is a lot of prioritization just because there's so many things that need to get done. You find yourself tending to gravitate towards where you think your strengths are,
right.
And trying to avoid those areas you're not so comfortable with. Right. But eventually you're going to have to learn the full gamut. So, prioritization is important. Try to knock off those areas where you can get some really quick wins, but eventually you're going to have to get brought into the stuff that you maybe aren't as comfortable with too.
Right.
Yeah. For sure.
Flip the to-do list and do the thing that you hate the most the first thing in the morning, kind of a...
Sometimes you got to do
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Victoria, your role here at Velocity, as I understand it, you aren't necessarily doing marketing and PR for every single startup that's here, right?
No, I don't have enough brain for
that.
Of
course. But there is a certain amount of, you need to make these startups look good and let people know about them, right?
Sure, yeah. So basically, my role was very heavily focused on marketing Velocity itself as this kind of unique program within the Canadian landscape for incubators and entrepreneur support systems and all of that, and hoping to get recognition for the hard work being done on that program and the amazing support system at the university and things like that. And then, yes, I think a large part of the role is also to be there for the teams. There's about 70 teams, and so it's a big number. But to be there for them to bounce ideas off of, or sometimes they just need to talk it out and they're working it out for themselves, or see what resources we have available that we can help them with. If there's introductions that I can make, I would make them. Things like that.
Sure.
And talking through whether it's launch plans or it's raising plans or just reviewing a pitch deck and like I said, just being there to ideate.
So really acting as a mentor for them.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big part of the role. It has to be.
Yeah.
So what audience are you marketing to in the role of doing marketing at an accelerator like Velocity? Are you trying to get other startups listening, or are you trying to get
if you're listening, Velocity rocks. No, definitely. I always categorized it as a few different audiences, and one would be students.
Right.
They're coming up with ideas. They're starting to build teams. They're starting to think about how they're going to do this. So get them on board and get them interested in Velocity. Startups that are at the right stage for Velocity, younger startups, get them interested, investors, so that they see the work and the opportunity that's there for them with our companies, and media, so that media understands that there's some amazing stories to be told out of this, this building, the one down the road, and the region in general.
Right.
We're standing on top of the mountain, shouting as loud as we
That's
can.
right.
That's
We thank you.
We'd love to do it every day, but we agree.
So let's talk a little bit about media now that you've brought it up. I think, any startup that's trying to do something good wants to get noticed by the media. They want to have, their story in TechCrunch or
The
Tech
cover of Time
Vibes
magazine.
or whatever, right? Yeah, that's right. Or even just in the local newspaper. As professional marketing people yourselves, like, what can startups do? What are kind of the low-hanging fruit that they can pursue to get noticed by media?
Is there like a marketing methodology? Like you have to do 1, 2, 3, or?
I hope not, because I don't know it.
and I'm not necessarily talking about social media, because we can talk about Facebook and Twitter and everything too later on. But if you want to get kind of recognized by the professional reporters, how does one make that happen?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do, and it's the only step that I would say should be consistently, could be identified as number one.
Yeah.
Introduce yourselves. Like,
Right.
I think put your name out there, introduce yourself. I think sideline to that would be target your media a little bit. Understand, to me, it's all about media outreach. Has to drive something. There has to be a reason for it. And so you have the story. What's the reason to share it, and who do you need to share it with to drive business forward? Basically, you either you want buzz to put in a pitch deck to show investors. Okay.
Yeah.
You need to get in front of some customers and fill a pipeline, right? And so for me, it would be, figure out who your customers are reading and get in front of them. They're probably very likely not reading TechCrunch. So don't put some kind of gold star on that rate yet, because and your story's not ready for TechCrunch. Probably they get a lot of pitches every day, right? These are people with thousands of emails in their inbox. Your story really needs to match what they're covering and what they're writing. So I would say find the outlets and communities where your users are and start targeting those. Find maybe a junior reporter and the assignment editor, right? Get to know them both. Introduce yourself to them. To me, that's a really good starting place for media relations for a startup, because you're starting to build strong relationships, again, where your customers are. I think that is maybe the most important thought that should be in your head is, why am I doing it? And then build from there. And
how does one find those people? Is it just a matter of like going to the website for whatever media outlet that you want and hunting down and
like
cold calling?
To be done.
Yeah.
Well, there's great resources like Cision Point and Meltwater to help you, kind of hone in, because you can imagine what comes across these people's desks. So to put your email on your Twitter handle could be fairly dangerous for them. So there's great tools like that available.
Yeah. And if you're doing, I would imagine most startups are doing user testing in some form or another, right? And they're validating their idea. One hopes. Maybe if you're doing surveys or you're out there meeting, or you have a friendly customer that you're doing some customer surveying with, you would say to them, well, where do you go to read about the latest tools? Where do you go to make your buying decisions? Exactly. Like who is it that you trust in media? Exactly. And go ahead and ask the question. The worst they can say is, I don't read anyone, or I can't even think of the person. Yeah. And in the meantime, you're going to be following your own industry everywhere you can. Figure out who's covering your competition. Figure out who's covering the big guys, the Goliaths to your David, because that's a good story too, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Are there not marketing companies out there, or are you just not suggesting that the small guy go to them to sort of buy those lists and to get that information? You're more suggesting somebody gets a clipboard and goes to the mall and does their own. Aren't there companies out there that can say, if you're looking for 30 to 35-year-old males that make this much money, they're reading this magazine, and you'd have to pay for that information? But is that not available out there? Or?
No, that's definitely available. I'm not sure for most people at that stage.
It's too expensive.
I find it's too expensive. Is where your resources are so constrained. Where's the best place for them? And I would typically argue at where the point where you're talking to users and validating and trying to put in place a relationship build with some media, you're also only going to have time as a founder, or even if the company is at the point where they've hired a marketer, in terms of your own resources, to pick maybe 10 to 15 media that you want to build relationships with, right?
Sure.
There's not a lot of, that's hours of work.
And what's the best way to initiate those relationships? Is it just sending an email or making a cold call, or
we should just
Sure.
dress up Darren
dropping in?
It's a lot of reverse engineering.
Yeah.
So finding out like what story you have that's going to make that writer look good or have value to them, right? If they're covering a particular thing about maybe software security, don't send them something about, consumer apps or something like that. Really focusing on things, because to not sound cruel, but I would say 90% of the time, your story they could care less about. Unless you've raised a crazy amount, you've got some breakthrough technology, or you've got something that just consumers go nuts for. I'll say with the caveat, just because I spend so much time in the software side of business and developer tooling, your sort of focus area of media that would care about that becomes even smaller and smaller. It's not on the same scale as this, a great new consumer product.
Right.
So if you're finding that you're pitching and you think you've got a great story about, numbers that you've raised or product, take a different angle. Maybe there's something that you can offer to the broader industry that you guys have come across that you think is a broader scope. And if that's still not working, then you don't always have to think about, traditional media like TechCrunch and SD Times and stuff. You could shift to influencers. Those are huge, especially in the development side. There's so many bloggers and influencers out there that are doing reviews of products or can, illustrate concepts they're doing with your product or service. That can be a really, valuable tool as well.
Speaking of influencers, what do you... I tried to say influencers.
was
what
a
do you
great
think of
attempt.
YouTube? Is that my kids are talking about YouTubers? I'm seeing Easter eggs get opened with 20 million views. And
Consumer, if you have a consumer app and a broad consumer market, I think that YouTube can be amazing. I also think that startups, and it's certainly a lesson that I learned from startups here at Velocity, is to look globally, understanding your audience, where they are. They're probably not that many of them in Canada. There might be a glut of them in the US, but what about if you're, it turns out that a lot of people are, really into fitness training in Germany, right? So find the German YouTube influencers in your space. It's also great to go international that way too, in terms of your cost when you're doing pay for play, which a lot of YouTube influencers would be.
Right.
You can lower your cost by looking at international versus larger US names, and you can get some great pickup and great traction, like downloads.
Das ist gut, danke.
Yeah, sehr gut.
What I always get caught up on is this idea of still getting noticed by those influencers, right? So if I find a blogger who is the most read blogger in my particular area that I'm dealing with,
Trump. He's talking about Hearthstone and Trump. Go ahead.
Like when I think about sending them an email or filling out their contact thing on their page, I think how many messages that they're getting, and if they get 1,000 emails a day, I'm going to get lost in the mix, right? And then it kind of, for me, shuts down the process before it even begins, because I think, well, it's not going to be worth it. Why bother trying? I mean,
I've got a great
am I
Tony
wrong
Robbins
to talk
take.
myself out of that,
You should listen to
or is it just a way of kind of coming up with creative means to stand out from the noise?
Yeah, I mean, if we think about how much attention we get from somebody and where the attention is, your subject line should be pretty good. Honest, newsy if it needs to be, or an introduction if that's what it's going to be. It may not be that you're sharing the news yet. It may be that you want to make sure that they're interested in your story, or you want to make sure that they are still covering that area and there's not a better reporter for you to go to, because you don't want to spam anyone.
Right.
So just like
but
a quick
if
poke.
if you never play the game, right, you're never going to win. So you definitely have to get out there.
100% of the balls that you do not swing at.
Another thing is to see if they're going to be at an event.
Right.
And then you can not
then
stop
you can
them, but you
accost
can
them
certainly
in
get some
person.
face
Yeah.
time. Just as soon as I said I just pictured everyone like sneaking around, following people around corners.
Peeping over barricades.
Yeah. Quick, did he see me?
Kilroy Whittaker.
Do a cartwheel. But yeah.
Okay,
I don't know
that makes
Sam,
sense.
if there's anything that you think could help people stand out.
Another thing that you can really use to your power is everyone thinks, okay, I've got this really juicy piece of news. I'm just going to do a buckshot approach and send it to the 15 outlets I want. Offering exclusives can also be very helpful. So if you know something like this is totally a venture beat type of piece, send them an email saying, we want to give you guys the exclusive on it. Here's a little taste of what it's about. Don't tell them here it is, but get them to agree to an embargo of some sorts. And then, have them go out with a story and then follow up with additional outreach as you need type thing if they or continue to shop the exclusive around. That can be a special piece too, because VentureBee doesn't want to write something that TechCrunch just published, a couple minutes ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. That's really cool. There's like a couple words in there that are new to us, like embargo. And,
they're not new to me. I know all that stuff.
You know about embargoing and stuff like that?
Of course, embargo, man. I embargo stuff all the time. What are you talking
for
about?
breakfast, didn't you? An exclusive. That's a really
neat
idea.
It's not bargo.
Yeah,
it's all
embargo.
Oh man, we're learning so much today. Great. Now, Victoria, you mentioned that you'd been working at Velocity here for a little while. You're now moving on to full-time freelance work. What's it like in the freelance world of marketing? I mean,
and what are your rates?
I would guess that that's a move that you can only make once you've set up a fairly well-established local network and are relatively well-known, right?
Yeah, one of the blessings in disguise in terms of so many people being now ex-BlackBerry people is that there's a very live and active network that really wants to help each other. And I will say anyone starting a freelance business, the first thing I would do is tell everyone that you're starting it, exactly what it is you want to provide to people. You can share rates if you want, but you may have a fluctuating rate, so you may not want to do that. And literally tell everyone, to spread the word. Use every channel you have at your disposal, right? Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever you need to just email everybody and let them know what's going on. Let them know that you're hanging an open sign and, and let them know that you're seeking business. And don't be shy or covert or subtle about that, right?
So
There's no point.
People for their vote.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Makes sense. I'm nodding again. I'll stop.
It makes me nod in return, though.
It sounds like you kind of run the full gambit now. You started out in the big corporate world, and you're working for some smaller groups, and now here you are on your own. What do you kind of anticipate as the new kind of day-to-day 9-to-5 grind in the freelance world as opposed to working at Velocity or working at a big corporation? I mean, are you looking forward to a lot more variety in how you're spending your time?
I think Velocity maybe provided me an awful lot of variety.
That's true. Fair enough.
I think one thing would be, as you're working with dedicated clients and really learning their story, because it was it's next to impossible to do PR for 70 small teams if you're one person or even 3 person, and the marketing team's 3 people here. But I think that either way, this will give you an opportunity to kind of focus in on some client work, be very different than being in-house corporate, I would imagine, because that's who the client is. That's not me.
Pajamas.
Yeah, that's right. Me in bunny slippers every day.
Absolutely.
That'll be fun.
Listen, we have more we want to ask about, but before I forget, because I have it written down in big letters on my paper here, we have to do our Igloo spot. So we are sponsored by Igloo Software. We are still sponsored by Igloo Software.
Yep.
And as such, we're going to throw in a little 30-ish second spot here, telling you guys a little bit about Igloo and the kind of people that they like working for them. And hopefully, if you're somebody with some tech talent and you're looking for a place to go, Igloo might attract your attention. So check this out, and we'll be right back.
I actually left Igloo for a while and came back because you get the sense of family, the sense of working as a team.
It's a really inspiring place to work. People can be who they are when they're in the building, and we're all working together for a common goal.
It gets a little crazy at times.
I have a very, very large collection of rubber ducks.
My first day, out of nowhere, I just got shot by so many Nerf guns. I mean, we get beer every other Friday. There's nothing wrong with that.
You could be here for a few weeks, but if you have a great idea and we think it'll work, we'll run with it.
Where you can go forward and pursue your own dreams.
They're empowered to do their job. Our culture is all about team.
It's really great, and it's something that you kind of strive for in a company.
If you have a great idea, we're going to implement it. That's why people love working here.
Igloo! Did you get that?
And we're back.
So we are still here talking with Victoria Barry and Samantha Lowe, our marketing and PR gurus. Who
and I'm learning a ton. I gotta tell you.
So am I. I should be taking notes here.
It's too bad we're not recording this or something like that.
That's true. Yeah. I guess I can always go back and take notes later.
That's a good idea.
Perfect. What were we talking about before the break? We were just mentioning about doing freelance.
We were talking about bunny slippers.
Bunny slippers.
Donald Trump, I think, came in at some point.
Donald Trump,
He streaked through the room, and it was quite embarrassing for Darren. But
amazing things happen in this place. Yeah, absolutely.
Making the transition sort of out of Velocity is where we were at, right? And using some of those relationships and how that's going to change from being sort of spun over 70 different companies. You'll be able to drill down and take a little more time and build some stronger, deeper relationships, I think, with getting to understand 5 or 10 or however many clients you want to take on instead of 70.
And I remember what I was going to ask about now.
Did I delay it long enough for you?
Yeah, that's perfect. We're totally in the same wavelength. And it's totally unrelated to that. But so you hear this term thrown around a lot in marketing circles, guerrilla marketing. And I think most of us have a fairly good idea what that involves. Marketing kind of outside the box. Maybe that's too cliche a term, but non-traditional marketing. But just wondering what you guys' take is on the kind of the guerrilla marketing, hype and people talking to startups saying, you got to go guerrilla and do it cheap and do crazy things to get noticed. And have you had any experience with that sort of marketing style, and or maybe times that you've seen it work or not work with other groups, or what do you think?
The first one that comes to my mind was in our conversations was James from Yummer,
right?
Who dressed up like a caveman.
That's like caveman marketing.
Yeah, and he sort of streaked through the downtown business core into restaurants and out of restaurants.
Wearing the caveman outfit.
Yeah. And he's 6'4",
6'7", I think.
6'7". I keep thinking 4. Yeah, I don't know why I shortchanged him those inches.
He's a tall dude. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would have been. That's what I think of as guerrilla marketing. So any kids, young ideas, cool stuff that you guys have seen
or done?
Flash mobs haven't worked so well in the developer space.
Flash mobs, yeah.
But the developers don't like getting up, dancing.
Everyone's got a keyboard.
That's so weird.
I keep trying. A guitar.
There it is. Yeah, we got there.
The key to marketing is the guitar.
Yeah, and a piano key necktie.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, let's not be crazy.
Much too silly.
What part did I go too far? I don't know. We've tried to have a lot of fun in our swag, like to kind of delight people. So it's kind of indirect marketing, like for our laser pointers. We've done so a lot of people, we go to conferences and it's like, you've got the T-shirts, and I mean, I own more sponsored T-shirts now that I can shake a stick at. But
I have a BitHound T-shirt actually.
They are the best though.
We
really don't compromise on quality.
The seriously, the material is very nice. Like it's very comfortable to wear. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah,
but anyway, So we made a cosmonaut survival pack, which included sustenance and a laser gun and. A badge, which was our sticker. So we've done that. We've done impromptu 40 Creek parties. Those tend to do really well.
It's a local whiskey.
Yeah, I was going to say, for the listeners who might not be familiar with the term, what would that involve?
It would involve the end of a conference happening, and then, hey, everybody, who likes... can we endorse alcoholic beverage drinking on this?
Let's do it.
Sure. They're not paying us any money to do it, but why not?
No. So let's go have a beverage of choice, and it's just a way for everybody to kind of talk, and then everybody swing by our place and just have some fun. And for us, our guerrilla stuff's always been around like the customer. It's not like trying to really. It's more excite them and with different events or things we can do for them as opposed to. I guess we haven't considered cavemen, so maybe I need to do that.
It's been done as passe now.
Just get some kind of rock and chisel and invite them to code on it.
That's right.
Yeah,
it's easy.
That's an interesting concept though, because it sounds like you're focusing on. I'm an old restaurant guy, so what we used to call 4 walls marketing. So once the customers are in, you pamper them and spend your marketing on them to make them come back. So we're not really looking for new customers. We're just we're doing the farming and the gathering, not the hunting.
Yeah, for sure.
So is that what you're sort of referring to?
I think so, yeah. Although if there was somebody on the outside of the 4 walls that wanted some 40 Creek, we'd probably bring them in.
Right. So there you go, Darren. There's your invite.
Well, and you guys at BitHound have a nice space there too, right? You can kind of hang out in the quote unquote office and feel like you're hanging out at somebody's house, and which I think makes it a little bit better to give a good image of the company, right?
You don't want to have 40 Creek in the Trogdor room?
No, it's hey, I'm happy wherever it happens, but no, it's great.
You're sparking all sorts of ideas.
Yeah. Victoria, did you have any kind of guerrilla marketing, things you've come across?
Sure, yeah. I mean, you see a lot of different things that people do, whether it's, dressing up kind of differently at their booth at a smaller event. I think
Star Trek uniforms.
Yeah, or even wilder.
Yeah.
I would say know your audience. Again, like for me, a lot of it will come down to who's there, who am I trying to get? Like if I've got an app that's a time tracker for lawyers, right? Like that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't need to dress up as an angel in the middle of Bay Street, right? Like that's probably not going to work that well. And it's not going to really fit
you
what
in
I
a
want.
Cupid costume.
Ding.
Lawyers aren't really relying on Tinkerbell too much, I don't think.
But there's always ways to think about the audience and what they need and what might get their attention and what you could do, like, in terms of, okay, I can't even I'm bringing up a clock example, and all I can think of is the Ahmed. But anyway, maybe there's something to do with an enormous watch, right? That you build out of something, or you do something, you have people spin the watch on the corner of where, the courthouse is, or something like that. Like, depending... Yeah. Know your audience, figure out what would be fun for them, fit them.
Yeah. Make the message fit the audience.
But by all means, do something to stand out. Yes, if you can do it. I think sometimes people think that will be cheap, and it's not. It's a lot. It's going to take hours to get. There may be permits you need to get, right? And
so the
it's going to take
watch turning is not as spontaneous. It's weeks and weeks.
That's right. Even running through restaurants as a caveman. He had to figure that out, go and take a day off of building and go and do that, right?
Yeah.
So, but I do think that it's great to think of new ways to get in front of the customer. I would separate that, and at the same time, you could say to any media, hey, I've got a photo op. If it's an outlet that would have that would want lots of visuals and just do a quick photo, not a big story, because there's not story for them at that, not usually. Right. So kind of you have to work a plan around that. Don't just decide to do it overnight and go down and expect it to work.
So when you're talking about that, and I'm envisioning the 50 or 65 companies we've talked to over the last year, a lot of them are 2-man, 1 guy, 3 guys. So how do you divide your team your time between building and then taking 3 weeks to prepare for one shoot on the corner that you think, like, you have to... marketing has to come along at the same time as development, or else you have this big gap where we have this awesome thing, we're done building it, and now what? Right?
That's a huge commercialization dilemma, right?
Yeah,
that's the startup's commercialization dilemma. If they're not big enough to have hired someone specifically to do marketing or even sales and marketing, and you have this 2-3 man shop, and you're all focused on developing and getting product, readiness.
Third MVP.
Yeah, right. Like I think what you have to do is focus on getting your product to a certain point. Build yourself in your planning to get the product to a certain point. And then you can start seeking counsel and seeking ideas and figuring out, whiteboarding some marketing ideas and how you're going to get the name out there, and then start your list building. Quick and easy things that they can do is say, we're each going to set aside 2 hours a week, and we're going to dedicate to being on social. We're going to dedicate it to going to forums and communities online where our users are and contributing relevant content that has nothing to do with promoting our business, because you have to reputation build, right? Exactly. And there's so many, you go on Reddit, and even though if you promote thought leadership by saying, check out our app, you're getting kicked off, right? You don't do that. So, understand the forum rules as well.
Intricacies and
there's a lot, right? And you're right. It can be a bit of a time suck, and it should be. It's your reputation, and it's your sales mechanism, it's your lead generation. So it's going to take time, and you have to say how many hours you're going to dedicate to it. And as you get closer to launch, you're going to ramp that up and create work backs and create and dedicate the time to it.
Do you think 2 hours a week is enough? Or
I think at the beginning it is. I would say the closer you get to launch, the more hours you've got to give to it, or the more you've got to rely on the kindness of friends to help, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Sure.
The product means nothing if nobody knows about it, right?
That's true.
We could,
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a bit about social media now that we kind of brought it up, and we haven't talked about it very much so far. So
if you're listening to the podcast, tweet TSP Weekly.
That's right. We have all these social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, as well as Reddit forums and forums that are specifically dedicated maybe to your industry that you're targeting with your product. It seems so easy to kind of get buried in the sea of social media, and not just to get noticed in it, but even to know like where to start. Which one should I be spending my time on? Should I be writing a tweet every hour, or just to keep up, or is this something that I have to have a specific person dedicated to 2 hours a week? Well, I could do that, but that maybe is like writing one blog article. What might take me 2 hours.
Right.
Or should we do vlogs?
Yeah,
now,
or should I be writing 8 tweets and sending them out at different times or something, rather than using my 2 hours a week for one article that I might be able
What's
to
the
churn
social
out.
media strategy for the 2-man startup team?
Yeah.
In your 2 hours a week.
Well, and remember that 2 hours a week is just the beginning, right? That's going to ramp up. So it depends what your priority would be. I would say community building is the first, 2 hours a week. That's what you use to start building community and trying to find ways to drive people to your website. Make sure your website is collecting them as they get in there, right? Don't have them drive to the website and not have a newsletter sign up or a list sign up, right?
You don't want a billboard.
Yeah.
You want somebody taking their name
That's
down.
right, exactly. And I think what I would say is, again, I will go back to knowing your audience, right? Don't waste all your time on Facebook and trying to do, create an amazing Facebook page if what you really need to get in front of is the medical profession or teachers, or what if you're police services, right?
Yeah.
Police are, for the most part, many of them are not on Facebook with good reason.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get them. Figure out where they are, get in front of that community. I think LinkedIn is an undervalued resource for a lot of different things, or maybe it's coming into its heyday now. But in terms of getting professional ideas in front of professional people about the problem that you're solving, I think that's a good avenue for a lot of people. I think Twitter is a bit chaotic and hard to get noticed in. So go ahead and tweet, but I wouldn't count on it for a lot.
Sure.
The targeting that you can do with things too, like Google AdWords, if you've got a small budget, and LinkedIn actually is unbelievable, especially to get down to the actual profession side of this exactly, you need an SVP of engineering or whatever, that can be great. And it's not overly expensive. There's a lot of coupon codes that are always floating around too to grab and just try out. So that's big. Vic's absolutely right. Know the kind of the medium. For me to put a JavaScript array in Valencia on Instagram, isn't gonna win me any customers, even though I tried to shop that by my co-founders, but
I don't think that sentence has ever been said. That was cool.
That was great. Well, can we ask then, Sam, what kind of tactics are you guys using at BitHound?
Yeah.
Your target audience is other software developers, right?
Software developers, more so in the management side, but in JavaScript. So then it kind of narrows it down based on programming language. So for us, we're doing a lot of exploration with Google AdWords, because a lot of the people that are looking to install different software packages are going on Google. So it makes sense for us to kind of play around with that. LinkedIn is a big thing for us too, just because we can really drill down the profession and the sector we're looking at really nicely. Twitter's just table stakes, so being on there is big. Another thing that's been big for us is blog and content. So putting out infographics that aren't just necessarily, for us, it's not selling BitHound. It's an infographic that we uncovered in building our product that we felt could really bring awareness to the rest of the community. So it's those things. And actually, Vidyard had a really nice way of putting it. They said, you shouldn't just come to a website to see about the product. Your customers should come there to get something else from it. So whether it's for us, they would come to BitHound to, okay, yeah, you want to analyze your software, but you also want to come, to maybe learn about software security or the latest, techniques in how to lint your code and things like that. That's where we're looking to really invest in is putting it into content and then putting it on across whatever channel we think makes most sense, which ranges.
Do you guys have it broken down to like customer acquisition costs, like what a customer costs you guys and stuff like that? Are you looking at that
so that's that's a really important, so the lifetime value, LVV or LVC or whatever, acronyms, but
LMNOP.
LMNOP. It's really important to understand that because you've got to look at, if you're going to put out $50 or $100 a day on Google AdWords, how many customers do you think? So reverse engineer. So if you want to have 100,000 hits on your website, great. You'll know that maybe 1% or 2% will end up converting. You need to figure out that the money you're spending there is actually going to come back in sales down the road, or else why are you doing it?
Yeah, you're mailing out a lot of sustenance otherwise.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I would also say to anyone that social, like movement in social and reputation, social and traction and conversion from social, like to get a following on your blog. That's not like, I think sometimes there's an expectation. Well, I wrote the blog for a month and I don't have a lot of followers yet. I'm like, yeah, write it for a year, right? So it's not a slow, social can be great. It's not instantaneous. It's a slow build.
So consistency is important.
Yeah. And understand that the timeline won't be immediate on the benefits that you see. You may get 1 or 2, which is outstanding, but you have to have it. You have to understand that it's year-long plans when you're doing that.
Yeah,
that's a longer sales cycle and bigger iterations than 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Also doing things that make sense too. Like everybody feels the need to, like, when April Fool's comes around, they've got to do something crazy on Twitter, right? And you've got like people like WestJet and those that are like putting, millions of dollars into these campaigns, and they're really well executed, a lot of them. To go in there and make a joke about and be very sensitive. Like I've seen it really backfire. People go in and put jokes about, our product's now free forever and then gotcha. That just instills negative sentiment. Right.
Yeah.
So, just make it a value, play up the humor. Don't necessarily, understand your users.
Yeah. Newsjacking is different than bandwagoning, and know the difference, right?
Yes.
Newsjacking versus bandwagoning.
Right.
We're learning all kinds of new terms.
It's true.
It's awesome.
I may have made up the word bandwagoning. That's fine.
Okay.
It's a football term.
Okay, good.
Really good.
Yeah. Everybody did it to the 49ers after the 80s.
Yeah. It's happening to the Blue Jays right now. I love them since.
That's baseball, right?
Yes.
I think I've heard it.
So I'm going to put you guys on the spot here before we get into the lightning round. Not yet. Before we get into the lightning round, I'm going to totally put you guys on the spot and say, if we were sitting down with you guys as our marketing consultants for the podcast, what kind of advice would you give us? If we want to, so our goals are we want to increase our listenership and maybe draw in some, new sponsors at some point. Not that we're not happy with our current sponsor, Igloo, we love you, but as we expand, what would be, do you think, some good next steps that we should look at?
So we'll start this conversation at $500.
Yeah. You can tell. That's why I said I'm putting you on the spot, because I'm like, maybe I can get some free advice out of it.
I usually try to sneak that in the lightning round.
Angel costumes. Right. Angel costumes.
Have you ever seen Darren in a tutu?
We'll work on that.
No.
Talk about guerrilla marketing.
That was a good one, man. I am quite hairy.
I noticed, and correct me if I'm wrong, when was your last tweet?
Our last tweet? It's a good question. It was
yesterday.
Was it last?
Yeah, you had 1 day ago. So, and Steven I would say
That's correct. It was 1 day ago.
Even like using, there's great tools. We didn't talk about tools a lot. There's great tools for startups, and there's probably some overused or some underused. I'm not gonna argue that, but there are, find things that are, you're the tech startup podcast. So there's things that can just flag good articles to you that are coming out about startups and technology, and then you can go and read them and tweet out if you like them or not. But to get like a little bit more of that thought leadership under your belt. Don't be Canadian about self-promotion.
Right.
And I mean that with my true love of Canada, but be aggressive, right? Like self-promote, use every channel that you can. I don't know what you're doing on Instagram, sorry, but you've got a video now, right?
Yeah.
Like you're starting to, you're seeing, and you've got some other cool stuff going on. You can be throwing images out there every time you do a podcast, take a selfie of everyone, put it on, like just let people know and build those communities. Make sure that you're providing every person that you're going to interview with the link to the podcast, your Twitter handle, your Facebook, all the different channels, maybe some suggested tweets, maybe some different content like that. Like
we actually do send out to all our guests the links to all that stuff afterwards.
Yeah, I like the idea.
We
of
don't do
some
suggested tweets.
Yeah,
but we could.
just to make it easy for them, right?
and do it before,
sure.
right? Get that promo in.
Yeah,
because once it's happened, it's a little, you want people thinking about it.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
The excitement and the
Two things that I would do.
Yeah.
So the first is I would make there like sort of an exclusive piece for subscribers. So if whether it's driving hits to the site, say, for behind the scenes footage, like BT's great at doing this, right? They'll do the interview, but if you really want to see some cool stuff, then you'll go on to, Breakfast Television Extended or After Breakfast Television, whatever they call it.
Yep.
So you guys could be doing that, especially you've got some big names on here. It could be neat. Or, I really like the compilation you guys did with the breakfast stuff. That was great, where you would ask everyone what they had for breakfast. And then, maybe there's, or maybe it's bloopers that you guys put out that, only if you're subscribed to our newsletter or whatever.
Yeah, we don't have any of those, though.
We have all that wonderful stuff we recorded but didn't put in from before we started the actual.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, you do, right?
Yeah, no, really.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
The second thing I would say would be it's on the channel sort of partnerships. So you guys should become the go-to podcast for every major event out of this region. So for Techtoberfest, for all the stuff that is going on with the events, it would be great to have you guys live there, kind of becoming the go-to podcast.
Yeah,
and we have covered some of that stuff.
Yeah, you guys have been there for like
sure.
a lot of the hackerness stuff, and then you guys did. You guys at Hack the North too? Did you guys do that?
It wasn't Hack the North. We did the Guelph Startup Weekend, which we're still editing that recording.
Yeah, and
but
we
anyway,
did the Ambient Intelligence Conference.
Oh yeah, with the
Yes.
Internet of Things.
We hung out at the
which is
Velocity.
Fun finals, you sure did.
Fun finals.
We did a little bit of recording there, but we didn't.
So we're
release too
starting, like, this is our comfort zone, and
Yeah.
we're starting to figure out how do you record in a mobile space when
Yeah.
it's loud and there's people, and
Yeah.
experimenting,
We
learning a
should
lot.
definitely get you guys Instagram.
And more
Yeah.
back and forth on your social too with
Sure.
people. If they're mentioning you, make sure you're replying. You're mentioning back. You're focusing in, like Sam's here.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't. As much as I say Twitter's chaotic, I think it's pretty good for news and information promotion.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so hey, Dan, what's Dan's Twitter handle?
At Confusement.
Confusement. Hey, at Confusement, right?
Yeah.
Whatever, and going forth with kind of building
We'll give
out
you
that
Sam back if
conversation.
you give us another T-shirt. That kind of thing.
He's like, you can keep her.
Well,
We're looking for sponsorship. How much do you value Sam?
And I did notice, like half an hour before we sat down, each of you guys tweeted about coming on the podcast, which I'm like, oh, this is awesome. It's already, people are promoting us already, right? But yeah, that's good advice to take to heart. Thank you very much. I'll send you a check once we get a few more months
in the
worth
mail.
of sponsorship checks under
I'll
our
send you a
belt.
Christmas card.
Yeah, sure. There we go. We're coming up on 50 minutes here, guys. So let's jump into the lightning round. Do you want to do the sounds again? There
That was
we
more
go.
like a whip than a lightning bolt.
That's a little whippish.
Whoopah.
We gotta do like the sound effects episode. We just collect all the sound effects
should. We
from
really need to
every
do that
previous thing together.
Oh,
We'll
I
do
would
that
love
one
that.
day.
Lightning bolt after lightning bolt.
Yeah, and the odd, fart noise or whatever people have done. There's been a
Impressions.
few.
People are
Yeah,
actually really good at
impressions.
Do you have any?
Yeah. This is wait.
She does. Did you see that look?
Let's do our first.
Okay.
So the first question of the lightning round.
What's
Stephen?
your? Do you guys have any impressions?
Yeah.
I can do a mix of Fran Drescher and Janice from Friends.
All right, let's hear it.
Wow.
Oh my God, Joey and Janice's day of fun.
That was
Wow.
disturbingly accurate. I
Yes,
think
that was.
actually.
I
That was
felt
good.
like Fran Drescher was here with us.
Yeah. / Janice. Yeah. Any impressions?
I got
Victoria?
nothing.
No. Animals? Can
You can't
do
follow
any
that up?
animals?
I actually
Or-
can't follow that up. That
No.
was really good.
How about a good fart noise or something?
That's okay.
We don't have to sing that little bit. So that was your question, I
Thank
guess.
you. Yeah, it was awesome.
So I have to guess mine. I'm going to ask a boring one, but one piece of advice for new startups in 5 words or less. Go. Marketing advice in 5 words or less.
Know your audience.
Know your audience. Good. Sam.
Always be closing, and that's on the sales front.
That's right.
Okay. Always
ABCs,
exploding.
baby.
Excellent. Good.
You guys are running from a bear, and you're going to have to drop something to make him stop and not eat you. And we're going to look at this from a marketing perspective. So what are you going to drop from one of your hands as far as marketing so the bear stops and reads it or looks at it or eats it? Or so the bear is your market.
How do you come up with these odd questions, Stephen? This is crazy. Okay, sorry.
LSD, actually.
Go ahead.
A lot of LSD. So what are you, that's your audience, the bear. So how are you gonna distract the bear from eating you guys as he's chasing you? What kind of, are you gonna use social media? Are you gonna use a...
I'm so glad I'm not being asked this question because I don't know what I would say.
I just watched the movie Backcountry. I don't know if you ever saw it, but it does for bears what Jaws did for the sea. So
right.
Really,
you're never going in the woods again now.
No.
Did I know before the bear started chasing me that the bear was going to be my audience?
Sure. Yeah. So you're prepared. You can have anything in your hands.
Then I have a deer.
The marketing equivalent of a deer.
Or a fish.
Yes.
Okay. So you have a fish or a deer. James dropped the fish and was hoping the bear would eat fish instead of flesh.
Yeah.
For sure.
So you're good. So would you drop the fish or the deer?
A fish. Probably.
Is it incidentally? Wasn't there a viral video recently of a guy up in a tree? Did you guys see this one? And
yeah,
there's a bear at the bottom of the tree, and it literally climbs up right beside him.
And looks at him.
And kind of looks at him, and then climbs back down and walks away. Like,
oh my God.
It was insane.
No,
anyway,
I didn't see that.
if you want to get scared of bears, I'll just. You're taking off the camera.
Yeah, that
Stephen?
was the full card. So
Oh,
we have as
there we
much.
go. Died during the lightning round. Okay, can we count that question as answered, or
Sam has to
Yeah, what do
answer.
you think, Sam?
Yeah,
So you can't drop a deer or a fish.
But it has to be something with social media or like a tool.
Whatever, some sort of marketing. Is your deer branded?
Maybe
is it
like-
a jerky deer or anything? Or
It's my deer brand. It's branded Eat Me.
fish sticks?
Maybe like Guy Fieri's Twitter handle because usually he's got delicious food.
Well done.
Perfect.
Yes. Diners,
Jeez.
dives, and drive-throughs or whatever.
I don't know if I can top that question here. I guess this is we kind of asked about impressions, and this is a little bit similar. But what are one of your hidden talents? Not counting your ability to do impressions of Fran Drescher. Maybe you're a skateboarder. Maybe you are great at a sport, or
You have a wicked souvlaki recipe.
an amazing harpist. I don't know.
I am not an amazing harpist. I'm
fair
a
enough.
really lower than mediocre harpist, I would imagine.
Okay. Have you played that?
No, I've never played one, so I'm
Also,
assuming that I'm pretty
Vic
bad.
is really good at identifying artisanal cheeses. Like if it's American style cheddar, she'll know right away and she won't eat it. You know the American slice?
Absolutely.
She doesn't like that.
Yeah,
Identifying artisanal cheese.
yeah.
I've
I'm a
never
big
heard
fan
that
of Monty
before.
Python's Cheese Shop.
Yeah, no, that's
If you've ever heard
excellent.
that, that's,
Yeah.
So maybe you have to say one for Sam now. Then she said one for you. Do you know any of her hidden talents?
Oh, I feel like I'm missing something, but there's something in the back of my head. One of Sam's hidden talents.
She's hidden it very well from you.
She was my boss for a while, so I tried to keep a lot of things hidden.
I was gonna say.
Oh! Sam makes these amazing energy, like gluten-free. You made paleo ones for me, energy balls, like that, like little
Really?
snacks.
Yeah.
Sam will try any
Date-based?
recipe. She's an amazing cook, and I don't think
Really?
people maybe know that about you.
They don't.
Yeah.
Thanks, Vic.
Wow,
No
that's
problem.
awesome. Next time we have you on the podcast, you have to bring us some energy balls.
Okay, done.
I
excellent.
love those.
Perfect.
Remember, they were so good. Okay.
What's one of the coolest things you guys have seen as far as marketing here on a local level? Does anybody really hit one out of the park where you're like, oh wow, why didn't we think of that? Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on.
I saw the Bartesian video, and that was awesome. I really
which
want
one?
that. You know,
Yeah.
with the little, they make like the Keurig for alcoholic drinks.
Sure. Yeah, they were on the podcast.
I really like
Yeah,
that
we
idea.
interviewed them. But
Yeah.
okay. Oh, just their promo video for the yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
It's not quite a marketing piece, but I attended the Communitech Rev event last Friday, the Rev Center stage, which was their pitch competition.
Yeah.
And start to finish, that was a really professional, well executed, well themed event. Like
What-
it had
what made it so
it had an
professional?
air of like top class. Like it just the theming that they put on in terms of like the the playbill that they handed out as you arrived. The bar was very nice. Like it was everything was very tastefully done, and just seemed like, you know, you were walking into a room. The way that they had done the projection screens, the background that they had used, I just thought it all flowed together really nicely. I thought that they put a lot of thought into the format to make it be very professional, which is important because it was focusing on selling excellence and the sales process excellence in these startups. And so I think that really hit the nail on the head. I really liked the way it all came together.
Did you hear that, Sam and Steve?
That's right. They did a great job.
They actually have an amazing events team.
They do. An incredible events team.
It's great.
Yeah, I love going into that space because of all the big screen TVs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What question are we on now? Like 6 or 8? I don't know how many we've
4?
done. No, we've asked more than that. What is it about... what aspect of marketing makes you really excited just to get out of bed and dive into it each day? Like, what part of your job are you like, this is the part that I've been looking forward to doing, as opposed to, I got to take care of this?
For me, I don't know if it's like necessarily like a certain action, but it's the customer reaction. Like when you put out a new feature or you announce something and they're like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for, then it's like, it's validation. It's great. It's addressing a need that wasn't previously met in the market. And so like getting that message out and making sure people understand that we're doing things for them that really excite them, that's a huge motivator to me.
Awesome. Yeah.
I think it's when I'm able to take a little bit of like role playing time and put the hat on of the audience I'm trying to address, and I build that into the content when I know I'm hitting the nail on the head, when I know I'm talking their talk, and I'm finding a way to excite them or get the point across, or, you know, there's just something about that kind of role playing that I have always liked. It's probably my favorite part of any content creation, whether it's marketing or PR.
That's awesome.
That was an awesome question or answer, because my next question has to do with role playing a bit. You guys are going to the latest Comic Con.
Yes, we are.
What outfit are you wearing? What costume are you wearing? Who are you dressing up as? Hulk or something a little better?
You're going to be the Hulk, Stephen?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Start working it now. Yeah.
I'm thinking balloons.
Balloons.
Yeah, we got to accessorize.
Yeah. I have no idea what I would be, but...
A Hearthstone character, Darren? Would you be
maybe
Lord or Emperor Thorazine or whatever his name is? Thorazine.
I'd go as Garrosh the Ogre.
Garrosh.
I can carry a big axe. Sorry.
Walks off.
That's okay.
Any ideas?
Just so you know, this is hitting really close to my heart, right?
Yeah,
I'm a bit of a.
You can have two answers.
She might have costume changes.
But I think I might do something like Mrs. White from Clue, just to throw people off. Or I would do maybe Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy. It's my daughter's favorite villain, so I might just do that for her.
Sure. Awesome. Sam, any ideas?
Professor Plum?
You're digging
why not, right?
into your inner geek.
Samantha Scarlet, or is that her name? Like,
I don't know.
Carmen Sandiego?
Yeah.
Oh my God, is a great one.
You would make a good Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah, you would
could
make
see
a good
that
Carmen
with the
Sandiego.
hat and the trench coat.
You know what?
Yeah.
Done. It's decided.
The world needs travel,
Perfect. Who that was you. I have one more left, I guess, for me. If you could have any drink in your hand right now, what would it be?
It's an amaretto sour. It's my new favorite thing ever.
Wow.
Vic, why don't you answer first?
Yeah.
That's a good drink.
It is, right?
So good.
Do you have the fruit muddled or just...
however they make it at the bar. I don't make it for myself. Let's be clear.
We order that one.
Fair enough.
You know what? I've really gotten into Pimm's lately, and I don't even know what Pimm's necessarily is, but I had it once, and it was great.
Is that like a Dr. Pepper? Pibbs?
It's almost like it feels like it's a gin ish thing. I think it's a very British drink, but it's awesome. There's like little bits of fruit in it.
What's it called again?
Pimm's. I think it's the name of the alcohol, maybe, but I don't know. I order a Pimm's and
they give it to you.
Yeah.
So that'll work. Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And of course, we've got to throw out our bonus question. Toilet paper, fold or scrunch?
Fold.
Fold. Victoria says fold.
Sam says my reaction.
I basically make a mitt out of it, so I would say probably fold.
If you make a mitt, okay.
I'm a germaphobe.
Fold then
Okay,
scrunch.
so that's fold. That's double fold.
Because
That's
scrunch is
double-sided
like a
fold.
ball.
Yeah.
And fold is like
we're talking sort of muffin top versus.
I feel like
mitt,
scrunch
I guess,
equals scratch.
Yeah, I don't want to live in a world of scrunch.
It depends. I think, on the softness. And is there a unit of measurement of softness? The
Like
whatever
thread count?
Yeah, of your toilet paper.
My Egyptian
that's
1,000
right.
thread
Kittens.
count.
That's right.
There's
Like
14 kittens.
that stuff that's like cardboard that they have in my elementary school growing up. That was like. It was like worse than tissue.
Oh, there was just squares.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just little squares. And you're like,
That's if you ever
pulling.
scrunch with one of those, I think you'd be gouging parts that you don't want to be gouging.
Let's move on.
no.
No, fair enough. Excellent. Well, now that we've got our data, we can add that to the mix and come up with our research when we're done.
this is going to be a great report. I'm really looking forward
When
to
Darren
it.
says our research, he means his research.
What are you guys?
What about us?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Firm scruncher. I think it helps the environment. I think it's cleanlier. My hands are further from the region. Darren is a firm folder.
I wouldn't say I'm that firm.
Well, he's a soft folder. Or
Yeah,
he's
I'm a soft folder.
He doesn't.
Have you ever
He
guys-
doesn't iron his creases or anything. But
Yeah.
he.
So, yeah.
What's the psychology behind the two? Like, what do you guys think?
You know what? This is the thing. When I didn't even find out that there were scrunchers until I was like in my 20s. Like I thought everybody was a folder.
there's
Like,
a story.
This is the way you do toilet paper. You
How
fold
did
it
you
so
find
that-
that out?
I was talking to, I think it was my girlfriend at the time, said somehow it came up in conversation. I'm like, what? I
We
didn't
have
know
to
that
break up.
I didn't know that was a possibility for toilet paper.
It's not you. It's me.
So since then, I've been fascinated by, finding out like how many people actually, these are the questions that don't get talked about in
I
society.
feel like
very much,
scrunchers
right?
are like the drummers or the chefs or the goalies. Like, they're a little bit wild. And the
Right.
folders are like, I don't know.
gosh.
Maybe.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, I
Maybe.
thought that it was more creative people were scrunchers and the more engineer type people were folders. But then through the podcast, I would prejudge some people thinking, oh, there's a very engineer person. He's responding to my questions very straight. And then they're a scruncher. I'm like, oh my God, we have something in common. Like it's pretty weird. It's quite an epiphany at the
I'm
end
telling
of
you,
the
once all the
podcast.
data is in the spreadsheet, then we'll be able to draw, correlations and say, like, obviously, these type of people are more on this.
I can't wait for the
We'll see.
infographic.
Yeah, when
Yeah,
Darren
that's
asked
it.
the question, I immediately in my mind choose for you guys. Like I had you guys tagged, and I was right.
Yeah,
I think it was
really?
pretty accurate. Yeah.
I thought they were going to be both scrunchers, but that's awesome. I love that you guys are in the
Didn't
fold
see the
department,
mitt coming, did you?
Yeah, no.
Oh, that was interesting. Yeah.
So I think that's the most we've ever talked about that question after having asked it. Usually we just get one word from the guest.
It's
and
quite
off
a
we go.
controversy, fold or scrunch.
No, it's great. Listen, guys, I think that's a good time to wrap up. So,
No pun intended.
so to speak, yes. So just usually when we have a startup, we ask them kind of how can we follow your story kind of moving forward. So Sam, I guess, we can follow BitHound. And,
At BitHound.io, where
Yep.
it's always a thing where we got to buy that handle. But
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
at BitHound.io. And you can follow us too at BitHound.io on the website.
And pretty much anything that comes through their social media channels is coming from you. Yes, more or less.
Well, yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
Unless there's something you guys don't like, then I'll say
Okay, sure. So we can see
Yeah.
good examples of your handiwork by following BitHound. Is essentially what I'm saying.
absolutely.
Excellent. And Victoria, like, how can we follow what's going on with
follow at Barry Vic for
Okay.
now, and then we'll see.
you? Do you have a website for your?
It's not launched
freelancing?
yet.
Okay.
It's behind the
Still
wall
works?
right now.
Okay.
Running in stealth mode.
That's right.
Once it's up, let us know, and then
I
we
will.
can put up
Thank
a link
you.
to that. And yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys. So let's throw out some thank yous here. So first of all, thank you very much, Victoria and Sam, for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
very
pleasure.
educational. It's awesome. We want to thank the Velocity Garage for letting us record here once again today. And we want to thank you, our listeners, for joining us on another episode of TSP Weekly. Please, as always, feel free to send us your comments, questions, criticisms, your feedback. Our email address is feedback@tspweekly.com, or you can just send us a message on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @TSPWeekly. So, from myself, Darren Conley, my co-host, Stephen Campbell, and our very wonderful guests, Victoria Berry and Samantha Lowe, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you all next week.
Have a great one.